Welcome to the A16Z podcast. I'm Michael Copeland, and I am sitting here with Frank Chen and Chris Dixon. Welcome, guys.
Hey.
Hi.
We are here to discuss Verizon and AOL. $4.4 billion for AOL. What does that say about Verizon and the carrier business, and what does it say about AOL's business?
Yeah, I mean, if you'd asked me this morning or before I saw this, who the likely acquisitions today, this would be not on. This would be low on the list or not on the list. It was surprising.
Right.
I think the short answer to probably every tech M&A you see anywhere for the last 5 years is mobile.
Right.
You can pretty much answer any. You can go to any tech cocktail party and just answer everything with mobile, and you'll sound like you know what you're talking about. I think increasingly it's probably also mobile video is the answer to all these things. So. Somewhere there's a probably a McKinsey PowerPoint that has the words mobile video, programmatic advertising, synergy, user tracking, et cetera, which was the kind of justification for this. I think there's sort of broadly like sort of a positive and a negative kind of spin on this. The positive spin is. Verizon sees the future, which is, the cable bundle is going away. More and more, it's like millennials now. It's something like the stats are like 5 hours a day they spend on their mobile phones. It's going to be all of their time on the mobile phone.
Right.
Video, TV is going to move to the mobile phone. HBO has already gone unbundled. Sports is going to go unbundled.
Remember that Verizon did the NFL deal last year, right? Which is for their premium subscribers, you could get any NFL game streamed.
That's right. That's right. And so they want to be at the forefront of this, and they want to be, and they don't want to be a dumb pipe.
Exactly. So they're trying to layer value on top of what they.
Which is the classic. I mean, this is just the pipe. This is the classic. The battle of the pipes, right? I mean, Comcast. Remember years ago they bought it was like Daily Candy, Fandango, and Plaxo. Believe it or not, in their content.
I'm still getting Plaxo requests to update my book. I think.
I know. So I mean, so there's always the cynical view is this is always the dream of the dumb pipe to become the smart pipe or something. The positive view is they're seeing the future, and the future is mobile phones, and they're getting ahead of it. And if it's as big as probably we think it's going to be, even if they maybe overpaid somewhat and maybe bought the wrong company or something, they still are probably on the right track.
So you can argue the price, you could even argue the company, I guess, but then let's not argue the company. What does AOL bring to Verizon that Verizon wants and needs?
I mean, I think it's, so the smartest interpretation I saw was Ad Age, which said it's not about the content. I don't think it doesn't make sense that it would be the Huffington Post and TechCrunch and things. Their argument was so much of the online ad industry was based on cookie tracking, so tracking user sessions, and that now people are multi-device, and a lot of these devices don't allow cookies, and that Verizon would be able to say, oh, look, this is the same person that was on his or her phone, and now they're on the iPad, and they're on a different app and a different website, and so they would have this special ability to kind of mix their Verizon data network user tracking together with AOL's ad tech. I don't know, Frank, if that's how you just saw it.
Yeah, so there's ad technology. There's also sort of video production technology, which is if you think about how videos are going to be created, compare and contrast sort of, how is Game of Thrones funded and created, right? HBO Studios funded it, and there was a massive studio effort to create this. What we're moving towards is a world in which most of the video content will get crowdsourced, right? There'll be an independent showrunner or video producer. They do small shows, right? And then they go into AOL Studios. They actually have HD Studios to create their content. And then AOL Studios can also bring distribution, right?
Wait, let me just back up. When you say crowdsourced, do you mean that the ideas kind of get validated by the crowd, not necessarily created by the crowd?
Well, we're moving to a world in which the crowd might actually fund their favorite shows,
okay.
Right? So instead of studios, right, somebody will get money from 1,000 fans. That somebody will walk into AOL Studios, produce their thing, and then AOL and Verizon can now bring distribution, right, for that brand new video content. So I think if you look at the historical view,
and monetization,
right, sort of the ad tech, who watched, how many, right, what counts as a watch, right, 30 seconds, a whole minute, right. So if you think about it from the historical point of view, which is how I like to think about these things, everything is up for grabs in the video to mobile value chain, right? How are we going to fund the shows that we watch? How are we going to distribute the shows that we watch? How are we going to discover the shows that we watch, right? That entire value chain is going to get upset, and I think the positive spin to put on the Verizon AOL deal is they see it, and they want to be at the front of it.
Yeah, I think to echo that it's sort of like now it's 1995, And instead of the newspaper industry, it's the TV industry, right? Like it's about to be, if according to this sort of bullish view, internet bullish view, it's about to, the tsunami is about to hit,
right?
And you need to sort of get ready for it. It's also interesting that now, it used to be that these companies would more kind of stay in their lane, so you'd had the sort of the different layers of the network. It's now kind of just total war where everyone is fighting everyone. Google and Facebook are building internet access, and Verizon is getting into content, and they're getting into TV, and they're just, so there's no, in some ways all bets are off, and no one stays in their lane the way that they used to.
I was going to say, like, Google launched their MVNO, Google Fi, so they're sort of getting into Verizon's face in business.
Yep.
Does Verizon now know something, though, as a carrier that, and as a pipe that other tech companies who are in this space kind of don't know?
Well, controlling the smartphones, you know exactly who your users are, where they go to sleep, which means that wherever your cell phone went to sleep is probably where you live. So they know the zip code of where you live. So they do know a lot of things about you. The question has always been, should there be a Chinese wall between network operations, which knows that stuff, and an advertising business, which could take advantage of that stuff? And that'll be a question to be settled here, which is, I know exactly where you are and where you live and where you go, and I know where you are at any moment in time.
In the darker theory, I have to wonder if this is at all related to the net neutrality stuff. Well, there's a couple of regulatory things that fit in. One is, if you go a lot bigger than AOL, or at some point, like, this is probably the biggest company you can buy and not have major regulatory oversight. Number one, right. And then so that's number one, and then number two, is like, in a world where net neutrality is banned, are they looking for workarounds? So, like, the most popular workaround for net neutrality is zero rating. It's called, which is a flagrant violation of net neutrality. Right. It's just somehow they've made it look like it isn't. But it's basically saying, hey, we'll give you free internet access for our websites, and you have to pay normal rates for everything else. Right. With this, potentially you could imagine their content. I don't know what, you get your data caps on Verizon waived for all the AOL content, and I don't know how, and if you run your ad network through our system and share revenue with us, you'll have better user tracking, and you can imagine a lot of ways in which the network and the content and the monetization interact in quote synergistic ways, which the whole point of the net neutrality debate was to avoid things like that.
Right. I like your preamble. In a world where net neutrality is banned, it sounds like a movie, albeit a bad movie, but still.
I wanted to go back to your comment about people staying out of each other's swim lanes, and that's over. Yeah. Like, the battle people have always gotten into each other's swim lanes. So let's go back sort of in history. You might have listened to the RCA Symphony Orchestra, which was funded by RCA Victor on an RCA radio, like manufactured by RCA, right? So the person who manufactured the device, the distribution, the creative agency, and the art, like, they were all singly integrated, right? And so you get used to whoever is in that swim lane, right? Sort of where you grew up, that there's always been massive battles over who's going to fund this content. How will you discover it, right? What device will you listen to it on? And this is just the latest manifestation of that.
I think there used to be, though, more, I think in the business theory world, a stronger belief in kind of core competency, and that people, it was sort of the Microsoft model as opposed to the Apple model, right? It was like, let me do one thing well, and like I'll own this strategic point, and I'll let other people do the work around me. And now, it's the Apple model, which is I want to own a whole bunch of different things that interlock and create the optimal experience.
Chris, I want to get to something that you tweeted. You said waves for ad tech M&A have sort of gone 1, display, 2, social, 3, mobile, 4, TBD.
Yeah, so like the first wave I think there was DoubleClick, which Google bought, and then immediately Yahoo bought Right Media for approaching $1 billion, and then I think there was a third one at the time, and so it was sort of basically shot gets fired, first thing happens, and then suddenly everyone pairs up. And I was an angel investor personally in a bunch of ad tech companies in the past, and my advice was always, when that happens, you got to it's like musical chairs, and if you don't get a seat, you're probably screwed, because now these guys are all part of. You now have your direct competitor is now part of Google and part of Facebook and part of whatever other dominant incumbent is there. So it happened in display with DoubleClick. It happened. Social was Buddy Media and Wildfire, and I'm forgetting there's two other. Oracle bought one, right? Virtue or something.
Right.
And then in mobile, it was AdMob and Quattro. Right. I don't know if there was ever a SEM wave.
I don't think there was
those
a big
guys. Those
rollout.
never really got bought. I think because it was good, they were all just so dependent on Google. There was only one kind of incumbent. So if I were an ad tech entrepreneur or advisor right now, I'd be thinking, is this going to be, because the way big companies operate, they kind of ignore our VC world. Like we think we get all this, we think we know we're important in the center of the world. In fact, most people don't really care, and the big companies really don't care, and they think, oh, those VCs are all insane, until something gets really big, and until one of their peers takes action and crosses over into our world or something. And so I'm sure there are meetings going on at all of Verizon's competitors and anyone, including internationally now, and they're all thinking about like what's going on here, what's our strategy, are we getting outflanked? And so it's just interesting to watch. Like I don't really have a dog in this fight.
So this is a continuation of sort of the mobile M&A wave, or is this kind of the beginning of a new wave you think of acquisition?
Yeah, I mean, I think so the mobile, it's also complicated. That particular mobile wave, my impression was a little bit of I don't know, Frank, what you think. I feel like that was kind of actually fizzled out. Like I don't think those two companies are actually in.
Yeah, I think the mobile ad tech wave kind of fizzled out, and then what got popular was sort of mobile production, mobile apps, right? Mm-hmm. How do I create videos and then apps, right? Yahoo went on a buying binge and they bought 20 of these things.
Yeah, I mean, because the mobile ads, the prior mobile ad wave was predicated on the notion that ads would become a dominant monetization model on mobile, which actually haven't really.
Kind of didn't work.
It's been more paid, and so that was sort of, in some ways, a false start. I think now it is again mobile, but it's much more around like mobile tracking and attribution, and probably some kind. If you have like a network of apps that use your, that use your programmatic ad buying service, things like that.
Well, so it'll be interesting to see then if, we're starting another game of musical chairs, like you say, and things will get busy for people on the carrier side and all the competitors to Verizon, and then others who might compete in the ad tech space as well.
Yep.
Frank, Chris, thank you guys.
Okay, thanks.